council has just signed in. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, gender fluid and everybody in between, good evening, how are we all? It has been entire 30 days almost since you last saw or heard our lovely voices and faces. We are back with another episode of the council. As always, I am Judge Volio, and alongside me is the gruesome twosome, Judge Ewok and Judge Junky. Gentlemen.
How you doing, buddy?
Hey up, pal.
So,
hello, Malaysia.
Yeah, hello, Malaysia. Let's get that out the way.
Yeah. Just to give that some context, folks. Apparently, we are number 1 in gaming in Malaysia in podcasts, and number 8 in leisure. So, hats off to people in Malaysia.
If you are listening in Malaysia, hi, we love you. Do you know anyone in Road? Sure, anyone?
Corsair.
We are not commercial sellouts, I promise.
But I'll do anything for Corsair items. Anything. Anyway,
moving swiftly on.
But he won't do that.
Well, yeah, exactly. He won't move swiftly on, though. There is so much to talk about, but when we last left off, I think the main big point, and I know it's still ongoing, so it seems only fit we kick off with it, is the whole Microsoft, Activision, King, Blizzard, whatever you want to call it, the ABK story. Ewok, I know you've got some news on that.
Yeah, so after, was it last month when we said, like, nothing's happened? In the last month, everything seems to have happened. So,
much.
First off, the CMA, that the UK regulatory body, came out and said, no, it's not happening. And it wasn't based on anything console related or, competitor in the console market related. So Sony wasn't a worry. It was down, of all things, to cloud gaming. So they basically said, if we let this go ahead, Microsoft will control the cloud gaming market going forward. It's a bit, the way they kind of come about it is a bit of a weird one, and it looks even more weird when you take in this week's decision by the EU to ratify the deal and let it go ahead. And again, the only issue was cloud gaming, but they basically made a concession with Microsoft that if you buy anything from Activision, Blizzard, King, whatever, you would be able to play it on any game streaming service. They basically free license it across the board, and the EU were happy with that and have let it go ahead. So we've got the CMA holding no concessions whatsoever in the cloud gaming market, and the EU basically saying, "Oh yeah, that's grand. Yeah, we'll go with that." So
it raises an interesting question whether the CMA was offered that deal, like whether they were offered that compromise, or they even brought that up, or that's something the European Commission's asked for separately. Yeah. Obviously, the statement alludes that it didn't, or it wouldn't have made any difference, because obviously they came out and said we still stand by our decision. But it's the whole decision sort of baffling to me, because it's like they're basically saying Microsoft will have too much of a foothold in the cloud gaming market, and it will stifle future competition. It's like, well, they're the innovators at the moment of cloud gaming. No one's really in that market, and everyone is in that market. They've offered deals to. And so the second argument was, in 10 years' time, when these deals run out, Microsoft will have power to sort of say yay or nay to everything on the cloud market and just pull them straight from the stores. But can you really sort of like hold something off that in a decade might come about?
No, not really. I think
a lot can happen in a decade.
It can, but to be fair, you're talking about the streaming services here. Besides Xbox Game Pass streaming, what actual other streaming services are there?
Well, that's the interesting one, because obviously we had a chat about Stadia last time, and that going in the past, so obviously that doesn't exist anymore. But part of the CMA's argument was that Microsoft already had a 60 to 70% control of the cloud gaming market. Now, an insider apparently from the EU team has made a statement saying that effectively the CMA based their numbers off Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. So if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, you're automatically a cloud game user, which isn't but it's not actually the truth of it. If you've got a Game Pass Ultimate, you don't necessarily use cloud gaming services. You've got the option to, but you don't necessarily use them. And based on that argument alone, the newest competitor in the market effectively became the global leader, which was Amazon Luna, which launched a couple of weeks before the CMA's decision. So effectively, if you're an Amazon Prime member, you have access to Amazon Luna. So by the CMA's logic, Amazon is now the biggest game streaming service in the world.
It's baffling because like I obviously am a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber.
Yeah.
But I can count on one hand the amount of times I've used the cloud service. Other than like the initial beta period when I was like, an insider and got to play, I went, oh, this is quite good. This is well better than bloody Stadia. I've literally played Slay the Spire about 4 times while I'm waiting for me dinner in a restaurant on crap Wi-Fi. And then the other times I've played on Nvidia's streaming service because I just, it works a bit like Steam, where like if you own the game, you can play where you want. You can stream that game, which is essentially what they're saying. If you with the Call of Duty thing, if you own Call of Duty, you can stream on whatever streaming service you want as long as you own that title.
Yeah,
like emulation. So it's a weird one.
Yeah, I mean the only times I've used the cloud gaming service, I was in the insider for beta iOS and then on Android as well. But since its actual release, the only times I use it is when there's a Microsoft Rewards or Game Pass quest that says play this game. And I don't want to spend the time installing the game, just kick it up in the cloud, get the reward, close it down, done. I don't actually play the game. I just boot it up to get the points, because points with prizes.
I'm a little bit like you. I mean, I've used it when I've been looking through Game Pass, not that there isn't enough choice on there already, but if something new comes on, like, for example, Ravenlock, which we'll come back round to in a bit, but that came on recently, and I'm not going to sit there and install the whole game. I'm pushing my hard drive already because I'm still sporting things like, Formula 1, FIFA, Call of Duty, things like that, which are already eating my hard drive up. And then think I want to try stuff, so throw it on the stream quickly, grab it on the cloud gaming, play an hour or two, don't want to download it. No, okay, it wasn't for me, but I got enough out of it to know what the game's about, what it's like, shut it down, job's done. And it's almost like a glorified demo service for me. But it does its job, which is what I want it to.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at like the EU's decision, and I will put the picture up, I think it'll be up in that corner up there somewhere on the actual podcast if you're watching. They basically show like the console gaming market thing is like in Europe is worth about 6 billion. The cloud part of that is worth around 300 million at this point. So it's a drop in the ocean when it comes down to thingy, and for such huge calls to be made about a market in its infancy, and for them to be two massively different calls from two governing bodies, because I think the EU have said that they look at cloud gaming as part of the existing gaming market, whereas the CMA are almost looking at it like it's its own market. And so they want to allow competition to grow or emerge. And I can see the CMA's logic in a way, but I actually side more with the EU. And we appear to have lost Mr. Volio very briefly. Let's try and get him back in to the podcast. The wonders of technology, folks. We are currently streaming video as well.
What was I going to say? Oh God, you might have gone black now.
Yeah, I mean, reading the EU's quote, I've got their thing up here, and one of the quotes is, "Hey, here he is."
I don't know what happened there.
Brief interlude. So the quote from at the end of the article that I've got with the EU thing is video games attract billions of users all over the world. In such a fast-growing and dynamic industry, it's crucial to protect competition and innovation. Our decision represents an important step in this direction by bringing Activision's popular games to many more devices and consumers than before, thanks to cloud game streaming. The commitments offered by Microsoft will enable for the first time the streaming of such games in any cloud streaming service, enhancing competition and opportunities for growth. And I think that makes sense, because if you can turn around and say, as a new upcoming game streaming service, for example, any Activision game you buy on anywhere, you can play it on our platform.
Well, you take that for example, right? So we all know Diablo 4 is on its way. We mentioned it last podcast. Blizzard title. You pick Diablo 4 up for, and let's be honest, the price tag it's carrying at the moment isn't cheap. So like 60, 70, £80, even £100 for the top end one. You're going to want to play it on whatever device you can get access to it on.
Yeah.
So now knowing that that's not a barrier anymore, it really, it starts making it appealing that singular price tag now carries a bit more weight now, and you can bounce it over multiple formats rather than just being locked down to the one console you were traditionally locked on.
Well, that's always been, like, for me, that's always been one of the reasons why I love Xbox so much, is that sort of ethos of play anywhere. That whole thing that they want you to be able to play anywhere is contrary to like other services. But then the other side of it as well, like, it is still in its infancy, and it seems like the big hang at the moment is Call of Duty. Like, that seems the big thing. Who the fuck is playing Call of Duty on cloud?
Well, exactly.
Like, only
there's
something dark, like only like 15% of the bloody population has like internet capable of doing like proper good cloud-based services. I mean, America don't even get like unlimited data packages. So,
yeah.
I mean, they've just announced Modern Warfare 3 potentially on its way as well later this year. So, are you really bothered about like wanting to stream stuff? But maybe this is what all the hang up is now. Maybe they're going to go for that mobile market as well and say they want you to have the ability to play Warzone on the fly with your mates on your phone, your handheld device, whatever. You look at the mobile phone market at the moment as well. The likes of Samsung, Google, less iPhone admittedly, and Apple, but like the Android-based services, they're really pushing like these whole gaming phones now. It's almost like a second wave of, when we had the Nokia GeForce back in the day, or the Nvidia original. You're getting like Razer are in the market. They've got their own phone. The brand new Samsung S23 Ultra is like meant to be top of the line sporting. Alienware have got their own phone out.
Asus.
Yeah, exactly. So we're starting to see the blur of the lines now of where gaming used to be at home and more of a private thing, and then it turned to a social thing. Now it's a social outdoor thing as well. And I think this is one of the biggest reasons it's kind of all been held up, is because are we on the cusp of seeing that sort of integration where a mobile device can give you the same quality play as a console at home? Oh, you'll never be the PC quality, we always know that. But a console at home, and then that way you've got that connectivity between two devices, so you're going to need a service that's going to be able to maintain that.
I mean, the thing that's surprised me in all of this is there was a hang-up over, Sony lobbying everywhere for, oh no, if we lose Call of Duty, we're doomed. And you're like, okay, they've got to make some noise because it's the competitor, I get that. And then all of a sudden it's been blocked because of cloud in certain places, or there's been provisions made for cloud. There's been no discussion on the King side of the merger, because King are one of, if not the biggest mobile gaming force out there. And you'd think, well, surely the argument would be, oh, we're giving Microsoft too much power in the mobile gaming form, not in the cloud gaming that's in its infancy. The whole CMA decision doesn't make sense to me the way it's gone. And there's been such outcry, and you mentioned it before we went live, Dan, about the government stepping in.
Well, yeah, the embarrassing thing for Microsoft and the government really is obviously the day that the CMA released the decision not to go ahead with the merger. Microsoft were actually in Downing Street in a joint venture with loads of other industry members promoting cloud gaming, and like the effect it could have on British industry. And then obviously the decision came out saying, you've been blocked. It just made it. I'd love to be a fly on the wall when that happened.
Yeah, I mean the CMA did like the unprecedented thingy of making whoever's running the CMA Twitter basically went on a bit of a rant after the EU decision, which is kind of unprecedented. It's you don't really comment on another governing body or regulatory body's decision. You just don't. You might release an official statement at some point, but you definitely don't take to Twitter kind of in a 5-tweet long statement. But even that, like when you look at the decision by the EU to let them, as long as they license freely the use of that game across any streaming platform, the CMA's like tweets made no sense, because it was like, I've got it up on the other screen now as well, like Microsoft's proposals accepted by the European Commission today would allow Microsoft to set the terms and conditions for this market for the next 10 years. They would replace a free, open and competitive market with one subject to ongoing regulation of the games Microsoft sells, the platforms to which it sells them, and the conditions for the sale. If they've got to freely license it across all platforms, how do they get to set the terms?
Yeah. The statement doesn't make sense.
It's assuming that like Activision Blizzard, if they weren't to be taken over, none of this had happened, would just turn around and say, I can't remember what the other platform was, the lesser well known one. Imagine they just turn around to them and went, you can have Call of Duty on your platform for nothing. There's no way in this world would happen. They might even get more favourable terms off Microsoft. Well, obviously they will now because of this deal with the European Union, but prior to that, they probably would have got it cheaper than they would have got of Blizzard, because Blizzard are, arseholes.
We love you, Blizzard. Don't listen to it.
Not so much Blizzard, but Activision more. Bobby Kotick. Well, we're not going into that rabbit hole, but
how long have we got?
Yeah.
You get the point.
It's just very, very strange. And with the FTC case upcoming in August, this isn't going anywhere soon. But I think if we get to August and the FTC case goes ahead, and as expected, Microsoft wiped the floor with the FTC, then I can see if they haven't already by that point, the CMA buckling, because I think the pressure will be there where Microsoft basically say, okay, we'll close the deal and we'll just set up ABK UK to sell our stuff there, and none of the ABK stuff will hit Game Pass. Which will
harm consumers. The whole
exactly
thing they want to do.
Yeah.
Right, now I know we keep banging on about this whole ABK deal thing, but it is a big thing, to be honest, guys. That's why we're doing it. But we will move on from that now. So one of the last things which we mentioned in the podcast last month was, I think it was a parting statement from myself. What the hell is Kick? I think it was what I said. And as many of you know, myself, Old Man Junky, and the amazing TraumatisedEwok or still are or have been streamers at some point. So we know what we're on about this next bit, and we are a little bit passionate about it. So if you do get roughed up the wrong way about it, I apologise now. Moving forward, these are our own personal views and our own personal statements. However, Facebook Gaming need to pull their finger out if they want to retain anybody else. But right now, the ropey raft that is Kick, that everyone seems to be jumping on board, I wouldn't be going there. Ewok, you're still on Facebook Gaming. Let's talk about why Kick is even in the mention at the moment.
Kick's in the mention because Twitch has been pissing all over their streamers, basically. That's
nice way of putting it.
It's the thing is that Twitch have basically decided over the last year or two that they're going to change all the terms and conditions for partnered streamers, affiliated streamers. They're going to change the split from some people getting 70% of their income and Twitch taking 30 to no, we're just going to give 50-50 on this, which is effectively taking a pay cut for doing the same amount of work if you're a full-time streamer who makes a living from it. you're effectively being told we're basically giving you a pay cut, and we're going to take more of your revenue. And in the frustration, someone has, or an entity has sought to capitalize on streamers' frustrations, especially smaller streamers who find it harder to make a bit of money from it, because instead of 50-50 over on Twitch, you could get 95% of all your revenue over on Kick.
Yeah, so Kick, the streaming platform, is in its beta stage still. That's worth mentioning. So it's a live beta platform. Also, when you look at who's actually backing this, it kind of raises the red flags a little bit. So, for those that aren't aware, Tyler Trainwreck Nicknam is the big spotlight figurehead from the streaming community that's gone over here, taking his 1.2 million Twitch viewers over to Kick and bringing the spotlight onto Kick. However, when you look into the backgrounds and the records of Kick, the owners, and I use the bunny ears there very loosely because there is actually nothing officially tying them to the site in regards to ownership. They just seem to be slapped all over it for advertisements. It's a crypto gambling site called stake.com. And they also just happen to be one of his biggest advertisers of last season, sponsors. But, I mean, when you look at it versus, I mean, I could see the law for a small streamer wanting to jump boat. Twitch are offering the 50-50 split. YouTube is 70-30. They're offering 95-5. Same-day payments as well, which is a big thing. The question is it going to last? We saw this happen before. Microsoft even had their own streaming platform, and that fizzled out.
Yeah, so...
Remember Mixer?
Mixer, yeah. I when I was looking into streaming, I was going to go with Mixer because you could do it straight from your Xbox.
Yeah, people liked Mixer. Mixer was really popular. Like, I mean, obviously, it was always been second fiddle to Twitch, but it felt like people who were on Mixer said, who I knew, said it felt like a proper family. It felt like, you know, a nice platform. It was direct opposite to Twitch, which feels like the corporate sort of streaming platform. Mixer felt like this little indie project. And obviously went over to Facebook, and then a lot of people were like, well, I can't really mesh with Facebook because it's Facebook. I refused to go over. Some big names went over, took the Wonga. Obviously, they've all gone back to Twitch. People like Gafalian's gone back to Twitch, and they made a lot of money out of going to Facebook, so you can't blame them, really. I just think, I don't know, when these new services open and they're offering all these, like, you know, great bonuses, it just feels like Gold Rush season. Yeah. It feels like the big streamers get the most out of it, and then the little streamers who get in there first might get, you know, a little tiny piece of the pie. But, like, again, the big streamers are going to leave and run back, and as soon as they run back, which eventually they always end up doing to Twitch, because pastures aren't so green on the other side, it's the smaller streamers that end up holding the bag again.
Yeah. I think as well... Sorry, go on,
just going to say, trying to get back and rebuild that base, and it's
yeah. I think if you look at Kick, the comparison is straightforward. It's Twitch and Kick. If you look at the comparison, if you go onto Kick, you'd be forgiven for thinking you'd stepped into a time machine and gone back a couple of years and gone on to Twitch, because they are using Twitch's code from about 2020, I think, and it's very obviously past Twitch that they built the platform on. So you've got kind of all sorts of questionable kind of, you know, ethics there in terms of building the site. But I think as well, whereas Twitch can be overly zealous with guidelines and restrictions at times.
Just on that note, did you hear Amaranth was banned again?
Yeah. So they can be overly zealous, but then the reverse of it is Kick seems to be letting anything happen on the platform, so much so that, you know, some of the bigger names have been showing their viewers porn.
I mean, what I'll say for Twitch is, I think they sort of have to be overzealous sometimes in terms of TOCs because they are owned by Amazon. So like, you know, anything happens on that site and it's just like a massive like, you know, spotlight straight on them. It's all over everywhere. Like I don't think it'd be as bad if Twitch was still independently owned by Twitch. If it wasn't part of Amazon, it probably wouldn't be under so much magnification.
Yeah. I think
the big go on, sorry,
no, go ahead.
I was going to say the biggest thing for me was when you looked at all the platforms that were available at the time. I mean, myself personally, when I first started out streaming, Twitch was the go-to for me because it was unspoken. You wanted to watch people play games. You went to that site to watch people play games. That's what it was for. And then slowly but surely, you know, the influx of other stuff started happening. The likes of Critical Role got their channel, and then you started seeing tabletop gaming on there, and then you can even catch like foreign sports on there as well. Some like, you know, semi-professional lower leagues use it as their streaming platform, and then there is abundance of other sort of things happening on there. There are people that play music on there now and do artistic demonstrations. I even subscribe to people and watch them paint miniatures. It's the platform has exploded into a full streaming platform, but I severely think it's stepped away from the gaming side of it, and I think that's what Kick is trying to capitalize on now. Be that indie gamer sort of thing again, almost as if, dare I say, the game station to the game, like back in them days for the UK people that kind of knew. You know what I mean? Game was your mainstream thing that everybody knew. Your mum and your nan went to. Game station was where the real gamers went because it was indie. It was for gamers by gamers. But it was one of them.
So it got swallowed by game.
And
not we met.
Don't tell everyone that. And to be honest with you, I can see the appeal. And then when you look at it, I mean, like I say, when I was first looking at it, Twitch, you knew what you were getting. Facebook drew your attention because it was oversaturated on Twitch and it was a hard market to break in, and you had to be doing something so niche and so standout to draw the footfall through. Whereas for a quick win, Facebook, you got all your mates, you got your family, you've got the ability to drop onto people's walls, like scroll throughs. So as they're scrolling through, bam, they're hit by your stuff just randomly because Facebook feels like they like a few things that you're into and you're streaming something, and then you've got the chance of catching that passing footfall, and it was great for a spark of growth within your community. But then it fizzled out and you soon found who your hardcore were, and the hardcore, funny enough, were 9 times out of 10 the people also followed you on Twitch anyway. So you were just playing to a very unhelpful platform that didn't really integrate with anything very well and kept crashing, and which is why I personally went from Twitch to Facebook back to Twitch. And if I'm honest, I mean, I've streamed on YouTube with other things as well, with Drop the Puck, for example, and it does seem like that YouTube streaming integration is better, but for gaming, I think at the moment, hands down, it's always going to be the purple for me because the amount of integration that's out there, you know what you're getting. It's literally Runsil. It says what it does on the tin. You want to watch games, go to Twitch. But then it's the restrictions again because it's Amazon owned. If they could go back to those days, I think it would be amazing.
Yeah, I think obviously I stream over on Facebook at the moment. I occasionally go over to Twitch and do the odd stream there. But the thing with Facebook is, like, at the moment, until at least the end of 2023, they're not taking a cut of revenue from streamers, which is they're the only platform that's not doing that. But at the same time, they're not taking the initiative and going, actually, we've got like the biggest social networking site in the world, which means we could reach more people with our game streaming platform. They're not helping by kind of committing to that. So they closed down the Facebook Watch app. So I don't know about you guys, if I'm going to watch somebody on Twitch and I've got my phone, I'm not going to www.twitch on my browser. I'm opening the app.
No. Yeah.
And if when I wanted to watch somebody on Facebook, I wasn't going on Facebook and then searching for them. I was opening the app and then going to my followed. Boom, there we go. I don't know, like, you know, I did it with yourself many times when you were streaming. Yeah. You know, so you go and take one of the tools that helps your platform's followers to use the platform. it takes away some of the support for the actual streamers. And there's a constant thing on Facebook, and it really annoys me. Every time I post something, I put a reel up or I put a post just to my community, I'm met with the same message every single time. Do you want to boost this post for £10 so you can reach 740 more people? Why isn't my post just going out and hitting the algorithm and just doing its thing?
Yeah.
It very much feels like Facebook kind of going, well, it's just a money-making project then. And the amount of partnered streamers that I've seen jump from Facebook to either YouTube or Twitch in the last 6 to 12 months doesn't make me feel very confident in the platform. And I've said with my community many, many times, I'm worried about the platform. And in a couple of years, I don't know if Facebook game streaming will be a thing. I don't know if they're just going to just can it because they haven't been able to catch up to Twitch. And I think they want to catch up to Twitch, but they don't want to speculate to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, so just to jump in there quickly on that one there, there's 3 big names I can think of off the top of my head that have gone over. Average Dad, Matt Laff, and Marley13. They were 3 massive signings for Facebook gaming. And, admittedly, the pandemic did a lot of people well. I did it as well. I jumped on because of the pandemic, but they carried on afterwards and have survived through. They've made the jump over, so surely Rats abandoning the ship is a sign. The only one that's really hanging around still, to be honest, is Stone, but then again, he got the biggest slice of the pie.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Dan? Sorry.
I was going to say, for me, it's always felt like you said, Facebook is a social media platform. It's not a streaming platform, and they've failed perpetually to mesh the two together. The UI for me is all over the place, and the payoff for what you were saying, like the only platform that don't take any money off you, they give you they give you your full share the profits. That's why you're getting the adverts. That's why they're trying to sell you the adverts, because that's their sort of like, well, we won't take any money off you, but we will sort of ask you to push yourself up in a pay to win sort of like scenario. And I can sort of get it, playing devil's advocate. It's not my personal way. I don't think you achieve much.
Yeah, I think there's definitely issues within their algorithm and stuff like that as well. So if you don't boost, so I'm only a very small streamer. I've got a very small community. Love my community. They've been so much support over the last 2 years, and I've got nothing
love you too, babe.
For them. And I've been very open with them and said, like, if it wasn't for the community that I've built Slingy, I'd have gone to Twitch or possibly YouTube ages ago. But I've lost my train of thought now. Yeah.
I was going to say, how much of a kick of it is there? On that train of thought, though, how much of a kick in the nutsack is it when you're putting all the hard work in and then Facebook go and put a brick wall in your way by shutting down partner applications?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm never going to get to that point. I don't think I'd ever get to that point. But there are people who have probably been working towards that and got so close to it, and then they go, oh, we're just going to shut it down for now. The Facebook gaming, the official Facebook gaming page for Facebook, posted at Christmas, we're going to take a couple of weeks off, and haven't been back. But what I've got my thought now, with that whole boosting post things and like that, I'm only a very small community. So when I say, like, when I was looking at my analytics over the last 4 months the other week, and for 3 months straight, I had, reach of over 20,000 and interactions of over 15,000. For me, that's big. For somebody else, that's like a drop in the ocean. I get that. But then I look at this month's, and all of a sudden, I've gone from 3 or 4 months of consecutive 20,000 plus to, oh, you've reached 6,000 this month. And you've had interactions of 5. It's like, okay, yeah, higher percentage, but where's that reach gone? And then I'm seeing that boost your post for £10.
That's the business side of it, isn't it? That's for me. That's for me. That's them saying, well, like, there's this guy. He's making regular content. He's got a small community. Let's give him this boost and see how it goes. gives you 24,000 people. Say 100 of them stay on watching. Say 10 of them give you like whatever the equivalent of bits is. Say like 50 quid in revenue for the month. Stars. And then Facebook is saying, well, technically, we've invested in you. We've invested you in our platform to get you to that 50 quid. How about you start investing in yourself with that 50 quid? Our way.
Yeah. It's definitely a business model. It definitely feels like we're going to throw up a roadblock now, and in order to get around that.
And it's like, if they're not seeing it back off you, they're saying, well, why are we pushing you if you're not going to like push us?
The way to tell when that's happening is when we get notifications when you go live, and then suddenly it stops.
Yeah.
And the amount of times that's happened.
Yeah. So Facebook have, if they could like treat it as the gaming side of it as a fully fledged gaming platform and push it the way it should do. They've got all the tools. They've got more than enough people using the platform to make a challenger for Twitch. But the one that actually seems to be the more legitimate challenger for Twitch right now is YouTube. They're given a 70-30 split. You're seeing big streamers jump from Twitch over to YouTube. Dr. Lupo, Tim the Tapman,
Nick Merck, they've all gone back.
Yeah, they've all gone to YouTube now. And was it 4K or 1440p? You can stream it and stuff like that. And if you get to a certain point, so if you were looking at it, my advice right now as a Facebook streamer, a small Facebook streamer, to anybody who's listening, if you were looking to start streaming right now, my personal opinion would be avoid Kick, avoid Facebook. Look at Twitch and YouTube and take it from there and see what would be better for you. And for somebody who streams on Facebook, saying avoid Facebook is... I get it.
Yeah, get Facebook.
If my reach goes down to 100 rather than like 6K in the next week, I know exactly what's happening.
Why would they do this?
Yeah. Oh well. So yeah, that answers that question from the last podcast. What is Kick in a roundabout way?
I did remember Kick being a 39p bottle can of energy drink when I was younger.
Oh wow, yeah, going back there, yeah. Brings us nicely onto the things that we don't see anymore. How about that E3? Remember that? What was the thing? E3, that Electronic Entertainment Expo, that thing every summer where we got to see new trailers for games that never actually came out, or trailers for games that completely led us up the creek without a paddle of what a game would be or look like. And then it launched like dog shit. Remember that? Remember them nostalgic feelings, the warm, tingly? Yeah, hold on to them because...
Remember E3? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Oh, God. So, ladies and jelly beans, the Electronic Entertainment Expo was cancelled in 2021 due to COVID. They tried to run an electronic version in 22 and it flopped. And decided that... 2020 it was cancelled. 2021 was the electronic, the stream one. Decided it didn't work, so they weren't going to do a virtual or physical one in 22 and rolled that over to 23. And are still using coronavirus as part of the reasoning why. But ultimately, it's not that. And we kind of understand why. Because... the main reason being Electronic Arts, PlayStation, and Ubisoft, and Microsoft, and Sega, and who was the other one as well? Yeah, Tencent as well, Nintendo, are all doing their own shows. So it kind of, it was like inevitable, really. It was going to die on its backside. I mean, we've got Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, so for me, I thought the writing was on the wall like last year when he said E3's come back, it's going to be bigger than ever. And then initially it was just PlayStation. I think EA pulled out and said, not going to do a big show. And it was like, all right, we're going to still do it. We've still got Microsoft, Nintendo, blah, blah, blah. But then what got for me, and touching back on what we just spoke about, is they turned around and said, yeah, it's going to be more focused on streamers and big streamers and content creators. And I think that just behind the pulse, obviously streamers and content creators were like, massive because of the pandemic, what we just touched on. It blew up. And now the zeitgeist is sort of going. And like people who have done well. But like, you know, it's not as big as it was now. People have gone back to work. People aren't watching Twitch as much as they were. They aren't watching things as much as they were. They don't want to see a content creator on the stage talking about a game. They want to see the games. And that's what the show's doing, the platforms doing themselves. It was the same with like EA bringing on NBA stars to present games that they had no bloody clue about. No one wants to see that. No one wants to see that.
It's almost as if you're describing the entrance of the IM Grand Prix last weekend. Anyway, I've got no right being here. Go on.
Yeah, I think when you think about how much it must cost for each of the studios or console makers to actually go and do that, the cost of travel, the cost of accommodation, the cost of the actual sets, it must be astronomical. And then you look at it and weigh up and go, we could do the same thing, but we could actually do it better because we'd have complete control of the environment that we're doing it in, and at a lower cost. Yeah. It makes sense that we've now moved towards these presentations by each individual company.
We can hold the lead. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there. So, going full circle from today's subjects, obviously Microsoft pulled out last minute because of the whole MBKA thing. And it's just like, yeah, I understand why. But for a while now, we've known Sony has always done the Play Show. That's their thing for the last 2-3 years now. And they seem to do well with that. And again, E3, it was great. We've got the Microsoft presentation and the Bethesda presentation, which is now the same thing. And then you got Ubisoft, which is going to show us another Just Dance and the Rabbids game. And then we've got to wait till Tuesday to the Nintendo Treehouse. And okay, yeah, sound. And it got samey. The beautiful thing is, yes, Game Fest and Gamescom, and we get little snippets here and there and throughout the year now. But one of the biggest things is the likes of EA don't want to have to release all their games anymore through other people. In the sense of, I don't want to have to show the latest Need for Speed at the PlayStation conference. I don't want to have to show the latest FIFA at the PlayStation conference. I don't want to have to show Diablo, Blizzard, at the Microsoft conference, but now they will. Because, they've been working on it for so long by themselves, which is why we saw them all break away. Now, on that fact, we know that Ubisoft have come out and said they were always going to do Ubi Forward. We know that PlayStation have said they were going to do PlayStation. Now, Xbox Summer Showcase is the first one that kicks all this off. And that is Sunday. Oh, sorry, apologies. Summer Game Fest kicks it all off. And that's the 8th of June. I've just remembered we were talking about it just before.
Yeah, yes, PlayStation.
It only got announced. It only got announced today. That's why. Yeah. That's why.
Apology. Right. Yeah. So that's what I wrote it. Dead small, tiny. Right. Sony's showcase. Here we go. So I'm hoping by the magic of editing, Ewok will make me look good here, but probably not.
Nah, not at all.
Thank you.
I'm going to put big arrows so he screwed up.
It was at this moment he knew. Anyway. Sony Showcase, 24th of May. Guys, what are we expecting to see from the Sony Showcase this year?
Metal Gear Solid remake. Silent Hill 2 remake by Bloober, because we know that's already in production. Probably going to see some VR, PSVR stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else they got coming out.
We'll
see Spider-Man. We'll see Spider-Man 2. Maybe some Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usual stuff.
I was quite surprised that it was like, oh, by the way, we're having a showcase next week. And maybe this is the cynic in me, but it felt very much like all the attention's been on Xbox at the moment. So look at us, and they've kind of maybe brought it forward a little bit. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of, as Dan says, we're going to see a lot of remakes.
I think
a lot of first-party titles, obviously.
Yeah. Touching on what Ewok just said, then I think part of the reason why I think it's been planned. It was always going to be around this date, and they've just not announced it because of all the ABK stuff going on. They can't really go to court and be like, we have no games. Competition will kill us. We need COD. And then go, look what we've got. Spider-Man, Wolverine, Metal Gear Solid. Look at all these third-party titles.
Available only on PlayStation.
Yeah. Look at all these companies we've bound in agreements with.
Yeah.
It's just like...
Yeah, so... Then after that is the Summer Games Fest on the 8th of June. Summer Game Fest is going to be the likes of your Segas, your Nintendos. You'll see a little bit of Ubisoft, Tencent, some of the other minor studios as well. Take away from the biggest ones, obviously. Take away from Xbox, take away from Ubisoft, take away from EA. What are we likely to see in Summer Game Fest?
I think it'll be a lot of indie stuff. It'll probably be an indie showcase more than anything else. With everybody else doing their own showcase stuff, we're not going to see big first-party titles from any of the console makers. We're not going to see any of that. We're just going to see a lot of indie devs showcasing what they've got coming up, or what they're hoping to make in the next couple of years. I don't think it's going to be huge.
I think we'll see from Sega, Hyenas, which is the PvP extraction shooter, which I've been a beta tester for. I can't say any more than that because I'm bound by NDAs, but it is bloody good. I just worry, is the market becoming saturated with that kind of game? Because the other game I think we'll see will be Ark Riders. Is it the one that was announced last year by not Ubisoft? I think it was EA.
Ark Raiders.
It looked very Destiny-esque. Well, that came out today, and they've completely scrapped the PvE part component. It's now going to be a PvP extraction looter shooter.
Didn't that happen with Scavengers as well? That we were beta testers for. So
this seems like the new DMZ, Tarkov. It seems like the zeitgeist, and I just worry will Hyenas get lost in the minutiae of all these games, and it'd be a shame. But obviously, Ray, you play Scavengers, and you thought that was a brilliant game.
Oh yeah,
and
brilliant.
That's had a short fall from grace. So
yeah, unfortunately, we are going through that cycle now, though, aren't we? Where last 10 years ago it was battle royales. This cycle, it's extraction. We are getting inundated with them, and you got to kind of sift through all the shit to find some really good ones. And unfortunately, Scavengers was a really good one, just didn't get the support. Hyenas, I've only heard good things about it. I've not seen it, I've not played it myself. I've only heard good things from people I know who have played it. So you kind of just hope that it'll get the chance among all of the releases that are coming out in that genre.
The EA showcase is going to be before the Ubisoft and the Xbox One. Now, EA, masters of sport. Don't do it very well, but they're the masters of sport because they own all the licenses. Don't get me wrong. I'm a 2K fan because I played all the 2K stuff. They know how to do sports games, just saying. However, the big talking point for this year is going to be FIFA. FIFA is no longer FIFA. It is now EAFC. Exactly. Are we going to see the birth of potentially EA's variant of PES? And look where PES has ended up.
I think it's just going to be FIFA with a different name.
Yeah, it'll still do well. There's just no one else in that space at the moment. I think there was a small indie developer that made a football type sim. I can't remember the name of it, and apparently it was okay. But apart from them, and obviously PES itself, there's nothing else, is there really?
No.
So I can't see anything taking over. I think
But
the
obviously-
biggest thing you're going to see from EA, I think, will be Battlefront 4.
Potentially, yeah. Obviously, I'm going to say they're a multi-headed beast, and obviously that's just one sport. They also own like Formula 123, which is on its way. Which, to be honest, I'm very excited for. You know, from what they announced in that, red flags, precision driving on the controllers, and we'll touch on it a bit more in a minute. But the racing game genre seems to be stepping back up again. Then you've obviously got like UFC. Now there's talks at the UFC. I'm not sure whether it was rumor or confirmed in the end, but Dana White was looking to purchase as an umbrella company. UFC were looking to purchase WWE as well, and still keep them as two separate entities. And now you've got that slap competition that EA also owns as well as an entertainment brand. So no doubt EA will get the teeth into that at some point. Mix in your NHLs, your MLBs, you know, like your basketballs and all that. That's great. That's a sports section done. But then you've got this whole other part of EA. Wild Hearts seems to have flopped. You mentioned it there as well. Obviously, you know, Battlefront 4, Star Wars is a big thing at the moment. Survivor, the running wave behind Survivor at the moment, and I'm hearing nothing but great praises for it. People are still hyped off the Mando series as well. I think that could possibly be the next gem that Sony, that EA are holding there is Star Wars Battlefront 4.
Well, we're seeing like screenshots and clips and stuff. So it's like the worst kept secret in entertainment, isn't it? And obviously, the director of Battlefront 3 leaked and said we made Battlefront 3. It was fucking brilliant, and then we got pulled. So we're just getting Battlefront 4, and hopefully it's everything 3 should have been. Hopefully it's better than 2, which was a catastrophe, and then had a Renaissance swan song and came back from the ashes, which Battlefield 5 didn't. Sorry, Battlefield 2042.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like the Star Wars games with EA, the best thing that's happened is the fact that they've lost the exclusivity license, because it's kind of forced them to up their game a bit. I think that's kind of what we're hoping. Like Jedi Survivor, look, I've not played it. I've watched a few streams. Jedi Fallen Order was incredible. I actually completed it the other week because of like I still need to go back and do the last couple of bits, and that was amazing. Survivor looks great. It's had its issues on PC, but when there's that many different configurations of PC, you're never going to get a clean launch on PC. I don't think. There's going to be someone who's got an issue somewhere. But the fact that, you know, other studios like Ubisoft Massive and stuff like that are now able to work on Star Wars games. EA can no longer just go, well, we've got this license for 10 years. It doesn't matter what we put out, Star Wars fans will buy it.
No, not anymore.
No. So they've got to put out good stuff. And Battlefront 2 itself wasn't a bad game. It was a very fun game. I played it a lot. I bought it on PC and on console. That's how much I enjoyed it. The problem with it was EA'd from the start.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was literally just, you've bought the game, brilliant, thanks for your 60 quid. Now you've got to empty your wallet into this little coin slot before you can actually do anything in the game. And as Junky said, they had to kind of revive it and kind of put on life support and give it some love to make it passable.
Yeah.
But the actual experience of the game is brilliant. It was just EA did it. But I think EA learnt a lot from that. And you don't see as much. You do in the sports games, of course you do. You know, the my teams and stuff like that, you know. But I just, with EA, I don't know, I think my biggest issue with EA is they just don't let the devs do their thing. They just say, you've got to use this engine and you've got to get used to it and you've got to make a good game with this Frostbite engine and that's it.
Yeah.
Rather than going, hey, we realise we've got possibly the worst engine on the market. So...
You leave Frostbite out of this. Going back, touching dead quickly, obviously, I mentioned F1 23 there. I'm a massive F1 fan. I know a certain person we know very well is a massive F1 fan. Hi, Mouse. Yeah, F1 at the moment seems to have had this massive revival, especially since Drive to Survive from Netflix. Love it. There seems to have been a bigger audience at the moment. It seems more accessible than ever. And people are diving on the games. And if you're lucky enough to have Xbox Game Pass, 20, 21, and 22 are all on there. Excellent, superb. 21 had a story mode, which was superb. It's been revived for 23. Don't know why it missed 22. Haven't got a clue. Maybe because in the actual real life, there was new cars, new regulations, everything. They wanted to bed that down first before they concentrated on the story again. Breakpoint, superb. Breakpoint 2 drops. Red flags. Now, this sounds completely bizarre for a racing game, but race stoppages have never actually been a thing in the full F1 games. For the first time ever, they reckon the AI, the machines are now powerful enough to register when a car is in the way of the track, when the debris is strewn across the track to cause too much of a hazard, or when conditions are so severe, a bit like Imola this week, and they just stop the race. And the race just gets stopped, and then you get to go into the pits and work on the car and change parts and stuff. I'm looking forward to it. But for a long time, this sort of game has been gated. And what I mean by gated is it felt too simulation. Like you had to have a steering wheel to play this sort of thing, and you couldn't really use a pad. I'll give you an example. Assetto Corsa, Project Cars 2, Project Cars 3. These sort of games have felt for a long time like they were on a shelf for a certain type of person that had a wallet or a silver credit card. I could just go out and buy a Logitech wheel, a Fanatec wheel, buy all the latest mods and cons just to get the real feel for the game. But what EA have actually sat down with Codemaster and done have said, no, you can't do that anymore. There are people that use the pads, so we need the pads to work just as good as the wheels. So they've sat down and developed this precision pad, which is going to be unreal because you can now control the dead zone and throttle and the weight of your trigger to the actual throttle of the car. They reckon that with the motion force feedback, you're going to get the rumble and the bite and things. I'm thoroughly looking forward to playing it. But it's not the only racing game I'm looking forward to playing this year. And if rumours are to be true, Ewok.
Yeah, well, just coming back to like F1 for a second. That all sounds brilliant. It does all sound absolutely fantastic, but
until you remember it's made by EA.
I'm just like, is it going to be one of these where it's over-promised and under-delivered?
I am praying it doesn't, because I don't know whether it's because I've been bitten by the F1 bug recently, or it's because, again, there's so much spotlight on it. But I think I'm praying I don't fall into this hype train trap, which we've fallen in so many times with other stuff.
Yeah, but
I'd like to see it do well.
Yeah, I love the F1 games. I love my F1, and I'm excited for it. Can't say anything because of NDAs, obviously, but we do know testing has been happening for it. But you only get so much of a feel for it in a beta and alpha and stuff like that. So I'm hoping it's not oversold, underdelivered. It sounds brilliant. It could be amazing. And if there isn't an achievement for getting for being the person responsible for a red flag, I will riot. Right. But
they just call it the Grosjean achievement.
the pasta Maldonado. That's like. But the other racing game, if rumours are to be believed,
yes,
after a very weak first half of the year, Microsoft could be having a very strong finish to the year. So we know Starfield's due in September. I'm hyped for that. I can't wait for the showcase to follow straight after the Xbox showcase. It's getting its own showcase, which is bizarre. But
well, to be fair, it's a Bethesda game. It's got to stand out.
But then the one that's going to follow that, rumoured, so not confirmed, but rumoured. We do know it's coming out this year, but the rumoured release for Forza Motorsport, the first next-gen iteration of what I think is the greatest racing game on console is due for October, rumoured.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I can already smell the burning rubber and petrol.
And following that, rumour is we could see Hellblade by the end of the year as well, Hellblade 2.
So, Microsoft showcases the 11th of June.
Yeah.
And apparently the same day as Ubi Forward as well. So, like I said, plenty of Just Dance, more Rabbids, and maybe a bit of Riders Republic 2.
I recently started playing Riders Republic. It's fun. It's actually fun. I enjoy it. But it's a bit weird, but it's good. But, I mean, the fact that it looks like it could be quite a strong finish for Xbox for the year is very, very much needed, given what's released in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Oh.
Now we're gonna have. I know we're gonna have differing opinions on there. We're gonna agree on some things, and we're gonna probably disagree on a couple of things here because I think we've all played it a bit. Go on, Junky. Go on, Junky. That face.
So I waited up and I played it 1 minute past 12, something daft like that. I think it came out like 10 to 12, weirdly. I played the first mission, and I just thought, I want to like this. But little things, it did feel half-baked. Little things I've come to enjoy in arcane games, like stealth animations. It has no stealth animations, which this is the thing that just blew my mind. It's like I was walking behind someone, and I was like waiting for the trigger, waiting for the QTE for the the button press to let me know I can take him down. It didn't come, so I just had to perform a melee, and it was just like felt hollow. Like the whole punch mechanic, knocking him down. The fact that I managed to get right behind him. There was a guy. I was behind this guy. Yeah, there was a guy there who could blatantly see me, and none of them reacted, and I was like, that was the first red flag for me, because I went in blind, I didn't read any of the reviews, and I was just like, I did that first mission, listened to all the NPCs, and I went, all right, it feels okay. 30 FPS makes me feel a bit sick now because I'm a snob, and I just thought, I'll play with some friends sometime, and then I've subsequently read things and seen more things, and I just thought, you know what, I'll just wait until next year when the deluxe edition comes out and it's actually a fully fledged out game.
I downloaded it the day after launch and was immediately dragged into a game with two people that had already started it and gone a bit further and had done the first two missions or so. And my first reaction was, this feels worse than Back 4 Blood controls. So by the time I'd tweaked the controls and read a few things online to get a sort of smoother feel to it, I loaded Redfall back in and continued on and did a couple of missions, and then decided it was a lazy man's Left 4 Dead. And I call it a lazy man's because you don't even need to ADS half the time. And there's some good points to it. I mean, stuff like the nests, I like the idea there. But alternatively, there just felt like no structure to it, no meat to it. It just felt very vacant and empty at times. However, Mr. Ewok.
Yeah, so I completely agree with pretty much everything you guys have said in that it's underbaked. It definitely was not ready for release. 30 frames a second feels rough. It just feels like even if you turn motion blur off, you've got motion blur on. Basically, the controls felt very loose. I had to dial them down and put my sensitivity down very, very low. However, I haven't played a minute of it on my own. I've played with the rest of the Ewoks, and so far we've probably played about 8 hours, and we've had a blast. Look, I don't think I've had any issues with unresponsive NPCs, which a lot of people have had issues with. I'm not saying because I've not experienced it that it doesn't exist. I had a absolutely flawless kind of experience with Cyberpunk when everybody else was ready to burn their consoles. So I know it can happen, but we've had fun, and I think a lot of it is down to, yeah, the game can feel a bit empty at times. Definitely unpolished. There's pop-up, like the graphic pop-in sometimes is painful.
Yeah, nasty.
Seeing assets that you're meant to be able to interact with, but you can't interact with them, all those kind of little glitches and everything showing through, yeah, they are happening in my game, and they shouldn't be happening in what is effectively a AAA release from a AAA studio. And especially, as Junky says, from what we've come to expect in the past from Arcane, you know, yeah, they've always had very funky graphic styles and very kind of steampunky kind of graphic styles, but it's always worked. But you generally don't have that level of bugs and glitches.
Dishonored was amazing when it launched.
Yeah, but the experience that me and the Ewoks have had when we've been playing it has been fun. And it just makes me think, if it had released more polished, you know, if it didn't feel half-baked, you know, they could have had a hell of a game on their hands. But I think I don't think it's going to be a No Man's Sky. I don't think it's going to have a redemption arc. I think it's just
enjoy it while you can.
Enjoy it while you can. And I also think it's very short.
Mm-hmm.
I think me and the Ewoks, after 7 or 8 hours, are on the last main quest.
Ooh.
I can't say for 100% certain, but the next mission that we need to go on is to get the big bad.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's not the case. If it is, then our fun experience for 8 or 9 hours once we finished it. If I'd paid 70 quid.
Thank God for Game Pass.
Yeah, it's definitely a Game Pass game. Like, if you can play it on Game Pass and you don't have to put your hand in your pocket and you've got a couple of friends that you can have fun with, do it. I completely agree with you guys on the fact that it's in a terrible state. Graphically, it's got issues. It's got, you know, unresponsive NPCs that a lot of people have, you know, even bosses, they've just been able to walk up to bosses and just, like, stand there reloading a shotgun. You know, I've seen all that kind of stuff. I've not experienced that, luckily, but we've lost Mr. Volio again, our master of ceremonies for the day. He needs to get better internet. But yeah, let's see if we can get him back, folks. But yeah, Redfall, fun for a blast with friends, but
if you're watching this at home on YouTube and you're wondering why I'm getting progressively more sort of like, it's not the caliber of conversation, it's literally because I was on nights last night. I just thought I'd clarify that. I mean, I was touch and go on the F1 part, like, I'm not going to lie.
Eyes glazing over, it's like, oh, he's back. He's back. Yeah. Well, he's back, but his voice isn't, from the looks of things.
Right, one sec.
There he goes.
There we go.
Now I am back. Yeah, no, apologies, guys. My router up here keeps overheating. My link is overheating. I don't know why. It's getting kicking a bit anyway.
Yeah.
Apologies. Where were you? Sorry.
Yeah. No, just basically reiterating, you guys are completely right on the bugs and the issues with it. But fun can be had with it. But for a AAA title, the takeaway line should not be, but fun can be had with it.
Totally. Now, one of my biggest gripes, and I don't know whether it's because we've been spoilt by the likes of Call of Duty, Destiny, and those things, but the aiming on some of these games recently has just been clunky and off, and you've got to go in and mess with the settings so much to get something that should feel naturally smooth.
So I'll bite on this one. To be fair, I don't actually mind like how clunky it felt, but only because I've never felt Arcane games have ever felt anything but clunky. As much as I like Arcane games, they just feel like an Unreal Engine free game.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I'll give them that one.
Yeah.
Even Deathloop felt like that.
Yeah, I can deal with the clunkiness. I just couldn't deal with the. I moved my thumbstick a millimeter and nearly did a full 360. It was very sad. Yeah, I had to dial that bit down, but yeah, it felt like an arcane game in the combat. Apart from the QTE things that you don't get, as Junky said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, rolling on Game Pass. There, we just touched on it. Couple of nice big titles dropped on Game Pass recently. If you're a fan of that sort of anime style mech game, I think there was one on there that dropped recently, like a Heavy Machine 2 or something like that. I looked at it for like 30 seconds.
He's selling that one, sorry.
yeah. I can't remember what it is. Something
Mech thing.
Machine of War 2 or Flare 2. I can't remember.
I'll bring the list up for you, shall I? I'll get on Google. Google's our friend.
But there's one that has dropped on there recently, which I do know a bit about, Ravenlock. Now, Ravenlock is a little bit of an indie title, to be fair, and is, for what it is amazing. If you haven't had a chance, go and download it, give it a try. Alice in Wonderland, but a button bashing like brawler, like a little bit of a platform adventurer. And I can tell you, it's something for all ages. My 13-year-old daughter finished it earlier today. She fell in love with it. She's a massive Alice in Wonderland fan. She downloaded it 2 days ago, so it's not very long, but it's enough to scratch that itch for something different, something new. So that's on there. Ewok looks like he's got a list.
I've got a list, but I can't see any kind of mech thing. I know Armored Core is due out soon, but I don't know if that's hitting Game Pass. Fuga, Melodies of Steel.
That's it. Fuga.
There you go.
Yeah, it's about big techie robots, but it's that weird Asian looking at the Western side things doing their own thing on it.
Right.
That's why it kind of it's weird. Think Battalion Wars on the DS and stuff like that. It's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
So that's out. Obviously, Ravenlock, like I say, give it a go. Absolutely cracking little adventure platform, like brawler, sword and shield, button basher thing. Superb. For those that have been on the podcast before and been around a little bit, you'll know that myself and Ewok like to partake in a bit of the old Dragons and Dungeons. So naturally we downloaded Solasta when it dropped on Game Pass. Well, the latest DLC for Solasta, Crown of the Magistrar, drops on the 25th, and it continues the main campaign. So we actually get to go from level 12 down to level 16. It gives us new spells. It's given us the Tiefling and the Gnome race as well. And it's just like another 20 to 30 hours of gameplay. But the big thing as well, besides the story there, is for the dungeon creation. Now, for those uninitiated with it, it's basically a tool where you can go in and create your own levels like a level designer. And they're now giving you the ability to link multiple levels together on an overworld map so you can create your own campaign. So let me just water that down for like the people that really want to understand this. For Dirt and Dirt people who can't get out and play Dirt and Dirt because scheduling's too hard, we can now play Dirt and Dirt at home on our consoles by ourselves. Yes! Not forever DM anymore!
Just looking through my list of like tabs I had open on my other screen, and there is one bit of info that we haven't touched on. We've got to touch on it, and we could have touched on it during the whole Blizzard stuff.
For it.
But Blizzard have done a Blizzard. Overwatch 2's hero mode.
I saw this. Yeah.
The longer-awaited PvE hero mode, which Overwatch 2 was being built around and was the whole reason we needed an Overwatch 2 rather than just a continuation of Overwatch. It's been cancelled. They can't realize the vision that they had in a meaningful time frame. So a difficult decision has been made to can it. Although they're not canning PvE altogether, I think you're just going to get basically like dungeon instance type things now.
Story mode.
So, whereas the hero mode was meant to have skill trees, progression, all of this, they're not doing that anymore. It's just going to be, I think it's going to be, right, you're going to run through this generic dungeon and you're going to beat a boss at the end of it and maybe get a loot box for it. I don't know. That's the feeling I get from it. But the whole idea of Overwatch 2 was that they were going to build this PvE mode that was going to be central to it, and that was the reason they needed to kind of move on from Overwatch 1. And it just feels like...
Pointless.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Definitely feels like they've pulled the rug from underneath a lot of players that were looking forward to that mode. Personally, I've not played Overwatch 2. I really enjoyed Overwatch 1, but I was waiting for this. Because I used to play Overwatch with the Ewoks all the time, and we really enjoyed it for a long time. But I play enough PvP on other games that I was just looking forward to having another PvE mode type game with the Ewoks that I could just smash whenever we wanted to have some fun, but it'd have a bit of meaning to it. But they pulled the rug, which I think they announced it yesterday, so I think the backlash hasn't yet formed properly.
Give it time.
Oh,
Give it time.
Yeah. But...
Right, gentlemen, I think we have ticked all the boxes, crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's. Have we any more evidence to present to the jury?
No. There's a few things I think that we didn't speak about. Obviously, big releases, but it wouldn't do it justice to bring it up at the end of the session.
Yeah.
So we'll save them for next month when, well, I know personally I'm playing Jedi Survivor, which we touched on, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Hopefully I'll have completed them both by next month, and then hopefully everyone else who's like interested in playing will have played it, so there won't be as much spoilery content.
Well, I was going to say that's the big thing. We don't want to spoil too much. Obviously, the other big one as well that's going to drop in the next coming week or two, Diablo 4.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to throw my money at that. Take my bottle caps.
Yeah, we'll definitely be hitting on that as well, and I think next time as well we'll probably discuss a little bit more about what we're playing, what we've been playing. We can let everyone know what we're playing, whether we like it, whether it's worth it. But I think we've covered an awful lot today.
Yeah, big review session next time.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't forget, guys, you can always reach out to us on the social medias, on our own personal ones, or on the group council one as well. If you've got any questions, anything you want us to cover on here, anything you'd like us to review, or whether you want us to play something as the council, the council plays, give us any suggestions. Until then, it's been an honour. Court is adjourned. I've been Judge Volio.
I've been Judge Ewok.
I've been your Judge Junky.
Stay safe, folks.
Love you, Malaysia.
Any news on your hair?
It's in Malaysia having a second wind, apparently.
This is just going to be a fade out now, boys.
That's fine.